York's classic rock, Q1043.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Jonathan Clarke in the studio. He is known, he's known as a lot of things now. Lead singer of Skid Row, actor on and off Broadway and on TV, and now he is an author. 18 and Life on Skid Row. Let me hold up this book cover here. His name is Sebastian Bach. How are you, man?
Hey, Q104, Jonathan Clarke. Listened to you for years, and now I follow you on Twitter.
I mean, what else were you going to call this book? It's like Billy Idol dancing with myself. It's like the same thing, right?
Well,
was there any other option? I mean,
no, but you got to think it up. And I wanted the word life in the title of my life story, because it's not just about Skid Row, it's about my whole life.
Yeah.
But then I was in the bathroom one day, and I was going, life, 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 life. And I go, "Doi!" I go, dude, your biggest song that you ever put out has the word life in it.
Yeah.
And I go, 18 in life, 18 in life, 18 in life on Skid. What do you get?
Right.
When the sentence is 18 in life on Skid Row. And what that means is that no matter if I'm in the band or not, that label is put on me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I think the public chooses who the lead singer of the band is, not the band.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's no other option for the title, man. I mean, it's just
that's
perfect. Let me plug you're going to do some books. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying Sebastian Bach is an author, and he's now doing book
An
signings.
author of the #1 book on Amazon today.
Wow.
Heavy metal section, but still.
Congratulations. Book review in Huntington tonight at 7 p.m. St. Vitus, cool club in Brooklyn. That's tomorrow night at 7:30. Bookends in Ridgewood, New Jersey, Wednesday at 6. Barnes & Noble, Thursday in Eatontown, New Jersey, kind of like where you spent some time back in the day.
I have hung out in that mall many times, never to sign my own book.
7 p.m., that is Thursday. How long did it take you to write this? I mean, getting all the stories right, maybe taking some stories out that you didn't want to include, finding the photos, picking the photos, getting clearance to use the photos. I mean, it's a long process, right?
It took me 4 years.
Wow.
4 years since HarperCollins asked me to do a book. And when they first asked me, like most books, they wanted a co-writer. And I wasn't interested in reading somebody else's account of what happened.
Well, I mean, sometimes they say a co-writer might make it easier.
Right.
But, yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. So they said, okay, all right, smarty pants. Well, you want to write a book, do you? Well, let's check out your writing.
Yeah.
So and then I got all this anxiety. I don't know, can I do this? And so I locked myself in my bedroom for like 2.5 weeks until I wrote 25 pages or so that I really loved.
Yeah.
And that I felt that I could submit to them. And they loved it. They said, okay, we like the way you write. You can write your own book. And that meant so much to me.
Right, yeah,
And so then I just spent 4 years on it, and that's how long it took. I've read myself so many rock and roll books.
I'm the same way.
And I love them.
I love them.
Yeah, and my favorite ones are Keith Richards' Life.
Yeah.
There's the word life. Yes, okay. That was from Keith, right?
Yeah.
But that book is fascinating to me because here's the dude that gets his blood transfused.
Right.
Here's the
switched out.
Here's the dude that snorts his dad's ashes out of the urn.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's got the best book.
Okay.
Like, I mean, how is that? How is that he who partied the most has the most lucid, clear, concise, well-written book?
I read Keith's book, and at the end of it, I'm like, I can't believe he's alive.
I know.
Now, wait a second. I read your book,
Okay, yeah.
and I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Amazing stories. Once again, it's Sebastian Bach, 18 in Life on Skid Row is his new memoir. books, I mean, stories about Bon Jovi, sex, drugs, rock and roll, Kiss, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, Motley Crue, Lemmy.
Yes.
We don't have time to get into all of them. Maybe a couple.
Guns N' Roses. Have you ever heard of them?
So let me start at the beginning. It was Kiss, right?
Yeah.
Kiss was the band that made you do what you do now, pretty much.
Well, I was part of that generation. You know, I was born in 68, so in 78 I was 10, and that's when they put out their Marvel comic book with their printed in their own blood. That freaks you out. When you're a kid, like you believe that, you know.
But you're scared, but you're interested.
Yeah, and you know, Paul Stanley has said in many interviews that when they did the Dynasty tour, there was a lot of little kids there, and I was one of those little kids.
And your dad took you,
and he put me on his shoulders in the front row, like I can remember right now the flame columns going back up, and back in the 70s, those flame columns were like not like now.
They're
like,
not safe
no,
now.
There
like they are
were
now.
real flames,
Yeah.
and like this wave of heat just would go.
It's like a furnace from hell.
Yeah, but you're literally baptized in fire.
Yeah.
And at that age, that's what it feels like. Like, no.
I can't imagine being 10 and being in the front row seeing Kiss in the early 70s with your dad.
You remember that when Kiss got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Tom Morello did that speech about what it was like to be a Kiss fan as a kid. And that speech knocked me out of my chair.
Completely resonated.
And I said, okay, I got to write in my book what it was like for me, because when he did that, what would you do if you came from space and you saw these guys breathing? And I was like, oh my God, you're totally capturing the feeling of being a rock fan as a kid. And I go, I know that feeling. I have to capture that.
And then you really got into singing in high school, and you even toured.
No. I was in the choir when I was like a child.
But you were in a touring boys choral group.
Yeah, but that
right?
was when I was like 8 and 9.
Wow.
Yeah. I went on tour when I was like 9 in a choir.
Amazing. I'm jumping all over the place, but I know nothing about this show. I watched maybe one episode in the early 2000s, but Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
You were on the Netflix series reboot that like the entire world watched over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The fictional band Hep Alien. Tell me about that. There are so many actors from the original series that have gone to like do these amazing things now.
Yes, Melissa McCarthy. Okay, when we shot the Gilmore Girls, I was on for 7 seasons back when it was on the CW and Warner Brothers Network.
And like you were an entire plot at one point for the entire season of you touring or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
But when you talk about other actors on that show, one day, like on the Warner Brothers lot, this girl got in the van, Melissa McCarthy. It was one of her first TV roles, and she's like, Sebastian Bach. And I'm like, hey, what's your name? She's like, I'm Melissa. And then she's like, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, what? She goes, I'm auditioning next week for an acting role where I have to sing. She goes, I don't know how to fucking sing. Wait, I'm sorry. We're not live, right?
Oh, yeah, we are, but that's okay.
On the radio?
Not on the radio,
good.
no.
Well, internet. Okay, anyway, so she goes, please, would you... She was freaked out that she had to sing, and she would just picked my brain that whole day about what do I do, what do I eat, what do I sing, and then she became this huge star.
Dude, can I tell you, I see her and I start laughing.
Yeah, she's great.
She is so funny.
And another, when I did Rocky Horror on Broadway, one of my co-stars was Matthew Morrison.
Oh my
from
God,
Glee.
Wow. Hey, tell me.
And we partied all like we hung out, and he babysat my kid, and like we were good buddies. And then he becomes Matthew Morrison,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tie this all in together back to Kiss, because at one point you were up for a role on Broadway that Paul Stanley was also up for. Tell that story.
Well, it's ironic that Paul Stanley played on Broadway in Toronto, which is my hometown.
Yeah.
And then I got to do it in New York, which is his hometown. But I just had to.
What show was that?
It was Jekyll and Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde, yeah.
And it just as a fan of Kiss as a little boy, then you start the book reading about that, and then decades later, I'm auditioning on Broadway against the singer of Kiss. It's like mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
to be in the same book. It's like, what? How can that be?
I want to ask you once again about Gilmore Girls. The song you did in the Netflix reboot, Joe Jackson's "I'm the Man."
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
I don't know. That was not my choice, but
Right.
they always pick cool songs. But when I do concerts now, we've done 40 shows in the last 2 months in 7 different countries, and when I look out in the crowd, a lot of the times now I'll see young girls in Hep Alien shirts or Luke's Diner. It's all Gilmore Girls stuff, and they come to my gigs, and then between the songs, I'll go, "Few times I've been around that track, and it's not gonna happen like that, 'cause I ain't no holla back girl. I ain't no holla back girl." And then the whole crowd erupts into this song, which is from the Gilmore Girls.
Right, yeah, I remember.
And then I look at the band and I go, okay, we are getting as many people at this show tonight for the Gilmore Girls as we are for Skid Row.
Skid Row,
and
yeah.
It's the same.
Hep Alien needs to do a Hep tour.
Yeah, well, one of my bands has got to reunite.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
wait, we already did.
That's what's amazing about you. Your life, your journey from Kid Wicked to Skid Row, playing stadiums around the world, to Jesus Christ Superstar and Jekyll and Hyde on Broadway, to reality shows, to television shows. It seems like all these things. I mean, dude, I just want to call you Forrest Gump. I mean, there are very many Forrest Gumpish things that have happened to you, especially after Skid Row, right?
Yeah. I think writing a book myself, just me, that could be one of the top things I've done. I never thought that would happen, really.
Yeah.
And here it is. I'm holding it in my hand. Fold out poster.
When you're doing the whole band thing, Kid Wicked on into Skid Row, I mean, you guys worked really hard.
Yes, we did.
You played every horrible club imaginable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Skid Row, and that was a long, rough road. But when I first heard of Skid Row, I figured you were from Jersey, because I'm from Jersey. Bon Jovi's from New Jersey. There's a relationship between you and Bon Jovi and Skid Row back in the day. But then I read the book, and I'm like, Sebastian Bach was born in the Bahamas.
Yes, I was.
And then, but who wouldn't want to be and live in the Bahamas?
I used to ask my parents
the rest of their life.
I used to say, how did you guys move from the Bahamas to Canada? Why didn't you move
And your dad
Canada?
dad got a job, right? And
Yeah.
that's how that happened?
Well, my dad was a painter, and that's not an easy vocation to support your family with.
Kind of like being a rock singer.
He relied on his art for his life, for his living, and so he just painted all the time. And he had to get a real job to support his children, and he became an art teacher up in Canada, and we lived in California after the Bahamas, which is where my sister was born. And then we packed up our car and moved to Canada, where he got a job at a high school teaching art. And that's how we ended up there. And let me say, there was no greater pride in my father's life other than when I was on Broadway in New York City. Because when you are a leading man in a Broadway show in Times Square in New York, walking around the town, people respect you. And I would walk into restaurants and they'd be like, here's Dr. Jack. Like the way New Yorkers treat Broadway performers is something that is so special.
Right.
And
it's different than being in a band, right?
Yeah, you walk around the streets in Broadway in New York, if people know if you can handle that schedule, that you're worth some respect.
Yeah, because it is a rough schedule.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When I did Rocky Horror, we did 8 shows a week, 4 months. I never missed a show.
Right.
But you try getting up and warming up your pipes at 11 a.m. for a 1 p.m. matinee.
Oh, yeah.
And that's separate after you're on at 8 o'clock the night before.
Right, yeah.
And then you got another show at 5.
Wow.
Like 5 shows per weekend. That's a lot. And in New York.
And people do that for years,
I know, like
too.
trolls, like the guys in Phantom of the Opera that have been there for 15 years.
Unbelievable. There's a great Bon Jovi story in the book when you were hanging out with Richie. You looked at his stomach,
Okay.
and he
God.
was in his early 20s,
Mhm.
and he already had like a little beer belly.
I don't want.
You want to blast him, but you know.
Number one, all of these stories are dated. Okay, so
Yes.
this is like 1987,
Right? Yeah.
and I was just starting out, and it could have been him, it could have been anybody, but back at the time, we were all expected to be razor thin. That's the image of a rock star.
Right.
But that's an unnatural look.
Yeah.
Like the cover of the book, everybody's like, that's the best you ever looked. Well, that's when I was the most into doing blow.
Yeah.
But it gives you that gaunt appearance
Right.
that rockers strive for.
You don't need food when you're doing
No,
that.
but when
Yeah.
you're doing cocaine, you don't need food.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so
It's the rock and roll
I was
diet.
like, how come you look so skinny in these videos and he goes, I'll just get an 8-ball, that'll be gone in a week. I didn't know what an 8-ball was.
Right, yeah.
So the reason I told that, I don't want to put anybody down.
It was a
anything.
long time ago. Yeah.
But I didn't know. That was the first day that I knew what an 8-ball was. I was
Right.
like, what's an 8-ball? Because I didn't have the money for an 8-ball.
Yeah. You were on tour with Bon Jovi, and you got a little annoyed with the roadies at one particular gig.
Oh, right. I know what you're talking about.
So
Yeah.
tell us about that really quick.
Well, I don't want to give away the book, but this is a story that I tell. We used to have these things in the 80s called the end of tour hijinks.
Yes.
And you would read in Circus Magazine, oh, this guy poured a thing of flour on the drum set, or
like
greased
the
up the sticks.
It's like the Gatorade on the coach at the end of the game kind of thing.
Yeah,
stuff, right?
one
Yeah.
time I was on the road with Pantera and I picked up the wireless microphone. I go, what the fuck? And it was like burning, and they're all laughing. They had doused my microphone in Tabasco sauce.
Oh my God.
So it's
Oh,
like,
my
so
God.
it's all in, and I'm wiping my eye. I go, ow, what? And they're like, you bastards.
Now, did you send a copy of this book to John or Richie?
No, but I mean, nobody sends a copy of their book to me.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm in a lot of books.
Yeah.
At Barnes and Nobles, and I don't ever recall anybody asking me like, "Is this
Permission?
okay?" Like, I don't call any. I don't put anybody down
No, you
in
don't.
here.
No,
but
you're
but
just telling stories.
I can't not tell like.
What happened?
Yeah, and I was on the road with these bands, and this is the way I remember it. And I would love to read the other guy's book.
Right.
I'm sure they've got a lot of stories about me.
And you and
know?
Axl, Guns N' Roses, you guys go way back.
Yeah.
Do I have this right? When they decided to get back together with Slash last year and Duff, was it in Vegas?
Yeah, that was the first.
And they
con-
called you
Yeah.
to jam on stage with them,
Yeah,
right?
I sang My Michelle at the second show.
So can you tell us how they got back together? Like,
No, I don't. I can't tell you that. I
can't?
don't know. All I can tell you is, I spent a lot of years in the late 2000s opening for Guns N' Roses without
Yeah.
Slash.
Right.
We played Madison Square Garden and the Meadowlands and lots of tours all around the world. And me and Axl would hang out at night and drink and party and talk. And he would always have stuff to say that he was disgruntled about Guns N' Roses. But at the end of the night, as I was always leaving, there would always be like a never say never. It would always, and I go right on, So,
Right.
So he never cut it off, So I was very surprised when they reunited, but
Yeah.
part of me, in a little bit of a way, was expecting it someday. But I wasn't
I
expecting.
kind of thought it would happen someday, but not
this
quickly.
quick, right?
Yeah.
But again, the public demands it. Like that's the #1 tour.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the biggest tour.
And
So
they just announced a huge
there
one for
comes
next
another
year.
one.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, there you
His
go.
name is Sebastian Bach. His book is 18 in Life on Skid Row. Your parents were really supportive of you, right? I mean,
to an extent, but not when I said I'm leaving the house and I'm going to go move in with these people, and like that was frightening to them, obviously. But yes, they always. Well, my dad fostered my love with rock and roll, and my mom fostered my love with singing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
she was always singing around the house.
And a lot of the photos in the book your dad actually took,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and they're artistic, black and white, cool to look at.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
Your dad looked like a really cool dude.
He's a rockin' mother trucker. He just loved music. Like when he painted all day, but he had music on all day.
Yeah.
And that's where I fell in love with music.
Didn't he surprise you at a Kiss concert or something like that? Like you guys,
Yes.
you both knew you were going, but
Yes.
he ended up backstage or something.
Oh, no, that was the Van Halen show.
Oh, Van Halen.
Yeah, Carrier Dome, Syracuse.
Oh, my God.
And but the Kiss story is funnier, I think, because, that was the show I went to. I was 11, and we had awful seats up in the rafters. But when the lights went black after the opening band, New England, after it went black, he goes, "We're not sitting here." And he just picked me up like a football and jumped over the rail onto the floor and beelined to the front. And then when he goes like this, puts me on his shoulders, boom.
Oh, man.
And I was crying like a little girl, like at the Beatles.
Right, yeah.
I was overwhelmed with emotion.
And then the pyrotechnics.
But that really affects you.
I haven't even gone into the multitude of unreal stories with Metallica.
Oh, my God.
People need to go out and buy this book, Sebastian Bach, 18 in Life on Skid Row. Tell me about Lemmy really quick. You knew him fairly well,
I
right?
had the honor to sing at his last birthday party ever, which was in December of last year. And then he only was alive a couple more days. And
unbelievable.
And we did. They go, "What song should we do?" And we knew he loved Thin Lizzy, so we did "Boys Are Back in Town."
Yeah.
And I did it with Matt Sorum and Nuno Betancourt on the guitar.
Wow, nice.
And just looking up at him, he was always my buddy. He was my friend, and I don't want to rip on Kanye West, or that's like an easy punchline.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But here's a guy who says, "I'm the last remaining rock star, but I just can't finish this tour because it's too grueling."
Yeah, right, exactly.
Guess what? Lemmy was dying on stage.
Exactly, yeah.
Not canceling,
Literally.
but getting up there and doing it. And that's what you signed up for.
Right.
I mean, we're lucky to be able to play music for people and make a living at it. There's very few people that can do that.
Yeah.
So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of work.
So we've got this book. And you're still touring with your band.
Well, we just completed a 40-city tour. We played Mexico City 2 nights ago, but now it's just the book tour.
Right.
Yeah.
So any new music on the horizon?
I was just hired to sing by Taylor Hawkins in his band called Chevy Metal.
Yeah.
He loves greasy stoner acid rock from the 70s. He loves it.
Yeah.
And all he can talk about is making an album like that. And that's what I want to make. I want to make like when you hear like Joe Walsh Turn to Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Riffs that are that greasy.
Right.
But with that production, it's not all computerized and perfect.
Right.
That's what we both want to do.
And he plays guitar, too. He doesn't just play drums, right?
Yeah, well, but also I got Steve Stevens from Billy Idol, and somehow we're going to start on some demos in January.
Oh, man, that sounds great.
Yeah.
What about Gilmore Girls? Is it just Netflix, four episodes, and that's it? Or
No. That's a big show. People, it's like a zeitgeist moment where it's hit the population and they really are responding to it, and it's a big deal.
Is there more on the horizon?
I can't tell you yes or no, but if you asked me 10 years ago, are you going to be filming a Gilmore Girls episode in a decade from now, I would have not believed you. But things happen.
Or being here doing an interview as an author.
Yeah, right? On a rock and roll station.
So, Sebastian, man, thank you so much.
Jonathan.
Dude, this book is fantastic. Let me hold this book up again. Everyone go buy it. It's really good. And please come back here with the band. And, Taylor and Steve.
That sounds good. That sounds great.
And we'll rock it out. And, I mean, congratulations on the book, man. It's really good.
It makes me so really kind of overwhelmed by all the reaction to this so far. Everybody's just digging it, and you know, again, I've listened to you on this station for years, but I live in California now, and I follow you on Twitter.
iHeartRadio, you can listen on there.
So we can keep connected. And,
Dude, thank you so much.
And I will be back. Thank
All
you.
right. Appreciate it.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
You see what I did?
New York's classic rock, Q1043.